Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards are both out of this camp due to minor injuries. Now, before we get into what that means overall, Mark McKenzie has 6 starts so far this season with Genk, 5 wins and 1 draw, 3 clean sheets, and arguably a man of the match performance this past weekend.
He's the highest rated defender in Belgium right now.
That's right. And Genk is second in the table. So Mark McKenzie playing very, very well right now in terms of form. And then Erik Palmer-Brown has started all 8 games for Troyes in Liga. They're currently in 10th. No clean sheets, though. And they're averaging 2 goals a game against 16 goals in 8 games. He plays in the middle of a back 3, usually drops into a back 5. Now, they're not a team that's going to go out there. I feel like 10th is a pretty good spot for them. And if they finish in 10th, I think they're going to be pretty pleased because they were flirting with relegation last year. So I think they're kind of playing at the level that they should be at, given the talent at their disposal and the league that they're in. But still, you want more. I mean, just the same as we're asking Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman in MLS to raise the games of people around them. EPB has to be held to that same standard. So I would say that needs to be better ultimately. But both of those guys get called in. I'm excited for both of them. That means, though, that the Ream dream is over, clearly. And Cooks with Brooks, these are my 2 little catchphrases, is out as well. I'm a dad, dude. Got to give me some dad joke time sometimes. We come up with those. So what's interesting, though, is that with McKenzie and Erik Palmer-Brown getting called in, I assume because CCV and Richards are out that you're going to start Zimmerman and Long. And I think, Heath, you've been leaning towards that's what Gregg's going to do anyway. But given that Zimmerman was kind of a guy that was an afterthought to start World Cup qualifying, then when he got brought in, he got to start and then proved himself. Maybe Gregg will throw something out there that's a little different and give us some contrast and have McKenzie and Zimmerman. That's kind of who I want to see right now, to be honest.
You know
I know it's going to be Zimmerman and Long, but I'm just saying. And Zimmerman didn't play this weekend against Austin FC. And there's no notes about. I went searching the internet about why he didn't play. I assume it's just so he didn't want to get hurt before he went.
Gregg called us once a year. The once a year of like sit my guy out. You know.
There was nothing. He wasn't in the 18. I don't even know if he traveled. Like he just wasn't. And there's no health report about his status. So yeah, I think you're right on that, Heath. And then Aaron Long started against New York City FC in the New York Derby, and they lost 2-0. Gave up 2 set piece goals. He wasn't really involved in either one of them from a responsibility standpoint, but still the captain. And that's the first time in the history that NYCFC has won both games at the New York Derby in one season, or maybe they played 3 times. But
hey, Jimmy, real quick, I just feel like there's. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out today about Zimmerman of what that was, because there's just no way that you can rest him before national team camp. Given, I know Nashville are in a decent spot right now playoff wise, but like it just seems like a weird. Like if you're Nashville, you're going. I don't care about that over there. Paying this guy $2.5 million a year. You're going to play the games that I'm paying you for. I'm going to let you sit out and rest. So I'm just wondering what else that could be.
I don't know. There was nothing. I went scouring the internet.
Let me ask you guys this then. Okay, assume that it's another chance for Zimmerman and Long, right? Given that I think with Vickers out and especially with Richards
it's a big
out.
miss.
Do you think it is? But do you think EPB or McKenzie have a legitimate shot to do something in this camp? Do you think they'll get the time? Do you think this is Gregg just showing the depth and maybe we'll give them another look? Or do you think that these guys are 5 and 6 on a depth chart and it's going to stay that way? Can they change that?
They are 5 and 6 on the depth chart. There's no changing that right now. But I do think that both of them stand a chance to move up and be in consideration, because I mean, Mark McKenzie, we saw in the year where the Union won the Supporter Shield, what a beast he was. Just so athletic. But then when he got the opportunity with the national team in the Nations League, it's not about athleticism at the international level, right? It can help you, but I think we've learned as Americans, just because you might be the best athletes does not guarantee you anything in the international game. If you don't understand tactics and you're not quick on the ball with decision-making and you don't have a firm game plan, you're toast. You're nothing. And I think for Mark McKenzie, it was the speed of play and being able to think quicker and adjust. In that Mexico game, he made a mistake, but he rebounded. I mean, he could have gone into a shell. It took him a little while to get out of it, but he did. I think that experience helped him out tremendously. So given the fact that he's in Belgium, where technique and tactical awareness is so important for success, and he's killing it, that's going to make him transition into the national team a lot easier than when he did in the Nations League final. So I think he stands a good chance. And then for Erik Palmer-Brown, he struggled in the last matches where he got an opportunity with the U.S. men's national team. But I will say he came in as a substitute in Azteca and did well. Coming in as a substitute in Azteca is not easy. I mean, you're going 0 to 100, and he handled himself well. So I think both players can come in and really make a difference in terms of, making sure Gregg knows that they'll be able to hang and they're ready, and that hopefully that they've improved.
Hey, I gotta say, Charlie, that was your chance to really flex and say that going to Azteca is tough for some people. For some people.
Others, I don't have that in me.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, for some people they really struggle down there. Others they thrive in elevation of the Himalayas with no oxygen and in the middle of the day. Some people gobble that up.
I mean, for those that aren't getting to watch this on YouTube, Charlie is wearing a jacket that shows that he once dominated at Azteca, because he's wearing the nicest leather jacket, just got off his Harley. Everything looks great. Jesus, he's going to a fashion show after this one, just so everybody knows. Now, my 2 cents on this, it's a big miss for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards, just in terms of, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. You haven't been with the group in a while. Let's see how you're partnering with Walker or Aaron or each other, whatever it may be. And how that fits into the whole group. Because right now, this is where Gregg's making those final decisions about how he's putting this puzzle together, how he's putting his 26-man roster together. So to miss out on those valuable minutes is now, and also giving an opportunity to potentially a McKenzie or Erik Palmer-Brown to squeeze you out a little bit. Whoo, that is squeaky bum time for these guys. But, these injuries, you also have to be really thoughtful. I think Gregg's made his decisions, I think, in a lot of ways on this position. And as long as those guys come back and are healthy, McKenzie and or Erik Palmer-Brown have to be playing lights out and just be absolutely owning it if they get any chances against Japan and Saudi Arabia, and obviously with their club teams to muscle any one of these guys out. To your point, though, before, I think, Heath, is about Chris Richards, and I know Charlie has a little bit of an exception to this. I know Charlie says that it doesn't matter with Chris Richards. If he's not playing much, Gregg still likes him, and we obviously think he's got the highest ceiling of our center backs. But if he's not playing, why not go with a Mark McKenzie? Let's just use him as an example, because he's playing so well, and he is the highest rated player in Belgium right now. So it's really interesting as to who you're going to take and why, and how they all fit in. So it's a big opportunity for Mark McKenzie.
I want to know what you think, Jimmy, as a center back. Who complements which center back complements each other well in terms of partnerships? Like who do you think is a good fit, and who do you think of the center backs in camp right now would be a pairing that you'd want to see in the World Cup?
Yeah,
let's pretend Cameron Carter-Vickers is out and Chris Richards.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I mentioned it before that I think there are some similarities between Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman, and I'd like a little contrast with regard to that. Now, I think that Walker Zimmerman has a little bit more of the intangibles. I think he's a better leader. I think he puts people in better spots, and I think the communication he's giving feels like the team responds to him a little bit better than Aaron Long. Now, in fairness to Aaron Long, he missed about a year with the national team during some pretty vital times where he could have developed that same type of rapport. But I think Walker's really filled that void. Now, Aaron sometimes feels like he's defending on an island and maybe doesn't feel as connected. This is me really nitpicking the crap out of this guy. But I think we have to, with regard to your question, because one mistake could cost us in a World Cup, and whether we go through or we don't. So I would probably start one or the other. But if it's not going to be, if it is Aaron Long, then I think you got to bring in somebody that is as vocal. And I don't know, I can't speak to Mark McKenzie as much. I know Heath can, knowing that he knows him better. Erik Palmer-Brown for me still feels like, I love his game. I'm probably his number one stan over here, especially on the pod. But I don't know if he's out there really bossing it from a communication standpoint. And I think that is so vital in key moments when the game's going 1,000 miles an hour to solve some problems, put out fires before they start. So I'd almost have Erik Palmer-Brown as a super sub, and I'd maybe start Mark McKenzie, to be honest, just because of what I've seen recently. That said, that's a great question. Yeah. And I'd almost maybe even go by form. And if Erik is the one that, or excuse me, if Mark is the one that continues to ball it out in Belgium, I would probably go with the hot hand and have him go with Walker Zimmerman, which is why I kind of want to see it, assuming that actually does happen.